Back in Austin at Mike A. Myers Stadium for the one final on the track tonight. The women's 10,000 meters. Lisa Cole has the collegiate record from 9 years ago. Sharon McCady of Kansas with the meet record from last year. And Ali Ostrander of Boise State. She's not running the 10,000. Boy, she looked unbeatable in the steeplechase earlier, but she does have the fastest time amongst collegians in the 10,000 meters. All 24 athletes in 2 groups on the track, 25 laps of this 400-meter oval. And Jacqueline Gogan, along with her teammates, from where now, Jill?
Notre Dame Fighting Irish, and it's pronounced Gone. Jackie
And
Gone.
what's your last name, Jill?
Mick Montgomery.
Oh boy, there are few bigger Irish fans that I know than Jill Montgomery. So she knows everything there is to know about these Notre Dame athletes. Remember, there were 2 regionals 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks after conference meets, one in Jacksonville, Florida, one in Sacramento, and 12 athletes and teams from each of those regionals qualified to come here. In the 10,000 and the 5,000 meters, they're just finals, so we have 24 athletes entered and on the track for this 10,000 meter final.
It's a little warm to the liking of most distance runners. 79 degrees right now as you see Taylor Werner from Arkansas in the middle of your screen in the all maroon, and watch for her to be one of these front runners that will push a pace if it goes too slow. As Dwight mentioned, there are 3 runners from Notre Dame in the Fighting Irish. I talked with Coach Matt Sparks at length about these runners. Anna Rohrer is actually the top returner. The 5 women that were the top 5 finishers last year in this race aren't back. So Anna Rohrer, she doesn't actually run. She didn't run a lot this year. She didn't run for 3 months after the cross-country season. You see her, she's very tall in the middle with the green jersey that says Irish and the blue bottoms. She didn't run after cross-country season for 3 months. She had a little bit of injuries, and what athletes don't really know until they go through it is when you don't run for a few months, your body actually heals, and even though you feel like you're behind, it actually was to Rohrer's advantage. She was banged up, but then she came back, and she has been running her best times. She's averaging about 60 miles a week. And right now for them, even though it's a little bit warm, when I talked with Coach Sparks, you know, hey, listen, he would love to see, you know, a 77-second pace for this 10,000 and have them just really take it out and be honest.
Well, we saw serious team running and great team results last night in the men's 10,000 meters, where the BYU Cougars finished 1st, 3rd, and 4th for Coach Ed Eyestone. And they have a lot of representation in the 3,000 meter steeplechase and 5,000 as well. That's where all their points will come, but they are certainly a contender for a sort of 3rd, 4th place finish as a team on the men's side.
Anna Rohrer from Notre Dame just moved up into the 3rd position. Again, these women are 4 across right now. What you don't want to do is do that. 10,000 meters is long enough as it is. What you want to do is make sure, listen, if you're going to make a move, make it. But otherwise, tuck back in so that you're not running out in lane 3 and running further distance than you need to.
24 athletes on the track at the same time in not a particularly brisk pace. You've got to create room for people to put their feet down. I always am concerned when we see this kind of bunching up. No one wants to run extra distance, as you mentioned. That was an 88-second last 400 meters. So this race is now well established. The pace is not going to be particularly brisk at this point, but it could change. So let's go back for more of that exciting women's hammer throw. I was struck by the fact that Reese just uses 3 spins. I don't see that a lot anymore. These women have really gotten good at that event since it was introduced a little more than a decade ago. And a great victory for the Cal thrower. As we come back to the 10,000 meters here, you can see that they have still a little bunched up, but starting to string out a little bit. The Irish now in the lead. 21 laps remaining in this 10,000 meters, and the pace is definitely picking up. We'll be back with more of this 10,000 meter final when we return to Austin.
Weini Kelati.
Saturday, UFC 238 for the United Center in Chicago. Cejudo Moraes for the vacant bantamweight title, and Valentina Shevchenko defends her flyweight belt against Jessica Ai in the co-main events on pay-per-view. To order the main card, go to espn.com/ppv. ESPN and ESPN Deportes will have the prelims starting at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific. Well, after a bunch of pedestrian laps of 88-1, 91-1, 86-1, Anna Rohrer, the Notre Dame senior, stepped in and said, okay, enough of this foolishness, and she drops a 75-5 to string the field out, and then comes back with a 78-second lap. So now we have a little bit of a race.
That's what Matt Sparks said was going to happen. He said if this pace went out too slow after the first mile, that Anna Rohrer was going to take it out now and start pushing it.
Well, that is exactly what has happened at this point. Now it's just a matter of who has the courage and the fitness to go along with her.
Right now, two of the New Mexico runners, Weini Kelati and Edna Kurgat, tucked right back in behind her. Watch for all these women now just to settle in. Taylor Werner from Arkansas currently running 5th. She has incredible closing speed, and one thing that Taylor Werner does in the maroon, sitting 5th right now, 4th, excuse me, right now, 5th, yes, 5th, is she stalks people. She'll just kind of lay out. We've watched her all season long from indoor to outdoor, and she says that she just kind of turns her mind off. She doesn't really worry. All of her training has done. Lance Harder has done an incredible job with his entire distance crew in Fayetteville, and she just kind of hangs out, and then she knows when she needs to make a move, and she's got incredible closing speed.
Well, and guys, in a race like this, when it gets so strung out like this, it feels like, you know, you're within striking distance. But those athletes in 10th, 11th, 12th place, even though they are in this upper group, you've got to be careful with front runners like Anna Rohrer, because you don't think you're very far from the lead and you're staying with, but in a lap, she can put 5 meters on this field, and she's absolutely fine running up front. I've seen her do this at ACC Championships 2017. She just won the 10,000 meters by a mile, and she comes back again this year. She had some injuries last year, so she was only second to Dorcas Wasike from Louisville.
You see the testament of how hot it is. There's some officials actually at the very start of the home stretch that are handing out water if the athletes want to take water, because it is really warm, not ideal for a 10,000. Some of the athletes have taken the water. You You just have to make sure that you really stay efficient and run your race.
At this point, with about 17 laps remaining, only half the field really in contention at all. Anna Rohrer has now slowed it down into the low 79s, but certainly a lot faster than we took it out at the beginning. But it looks like Weini Kelati and Edna Kurgat, no problem staying right behind her and only too happy to let her lead.
Also on the outside in the Michigan uniform in the blue with the big yellow M on it, Erin Finn of Michigan. Watch for her to make a move. She's another one of these runners that just likes to stalk. She's been injured. For most of the season, she was injured throughout her career. She got a 6th year of eligibility, and April 20th was the first race of this year. There's Erin Finn right there in the Michigan uniform, and she's another one of these just mentally tough women. We've watched her run for the last few years, granting that 6th year of eligibility, and now at this race, your first race was in April, you just got to go for it.
You see she went for the water there, but she was a little too close to the person holding it, and it just splashed up on her face, so she didn't get any water in her. She'll be looking for some water on that next lap.
That might be actually a better strategy. You might not even want to drink on this. It's just so warm out there. You're just going to throw it on yourself and just maybe cool your neck off a little bit, just so that you can have that little extra breath of freshness, because it's warm. It's 79 degrees right now with about 70% humidity. Anna Rohrer doing a really nice job of just staying in the lead for Notre Dame. And another thing I talked with Matt Sparks about was this group of Anna Rohrer, Maddie Denner, who's a freshman that's also in this race, and Jackie Gahn. He said that this group is really almost like the group back in 2015 when Molly Seidel won. And Anna was a freshman. Now Anna is a senior, and now she's bringing Maddie through and being able to run and teach that leadership of, hey, the culture in South Bend, the Catholicism, the community, that's how these women run this race together. And even though you don't see Maddie Denner from Notre Dame up in this pack, she's all the way in the back, but that's exactly what Matt Sparks said she would be, because she's got really, really good last closing mile.
15 laps remaining in this 10,000 meters, so we'll step aside, come back with more of our coverage of this track final. Not tremendous team replications, but we'll see. All right, back to the 10,000 meters. We're down with 10 laps remaining as they go by the start-finish line. And some changes up front, but not much. Edna Kurgat now in the lead.
Also moving up is Paige Stoner from Syracuse. She's in the orange jersey in the middle of that pack again. The pack was strung out for a while and then bunched up. They were running 79, 79, 78, and then slowed down to 82, 80, 79, and 83. That is not technically how you want to run a 10,000. As Anna Rohrer goes back into the lead for Notre Dame, especially when it is this hot. You really want to stay away from running 4 to 5 different increments of a 62, 63, then a 78, then an 82, because now you're expending more energy and having to make up for slower laps. If you just kind of stay even through your laps and gradually get faster, that is going to play into the hands of a much better executed race efficiently.
And getting the sense that Anna Rohrer does not tolerate nonsense very well. She likes to go out there and push it, doesn't like that surging and then slowing down. But Weini Kelati, who took the lead for a little while, now has relinquished it, and she and her teammate Edna Kurgat, both from New Mexico, are right there behind Anna Rohrer. You see Taylor Werner looking actually very fresh there for Arkansas in 4th place.
That's how Taylor Werner has run all year. I'm telling you, she stalks people. She just kind of shuts it off and stays really even, stays right where she is. Now she's actually moving up into 3rd over Kurgat.
And it's also Finn from Michigan. Aaron Finn from Michigan is also up there and has been up there pretty consistently over the course of the last 5 or 6 laps.
That would be an incredible story if Aaron Finn actually ends up winning this. Like I said, she's had a rough year, plagued with injuries. She's been granted a 6th year of eligibility. The first time she ran was April 20th of this year. She was 7th at the Big Ten championships at this distance, when back in 14, 15, and 18, she won. So to see her up there is a huge testament of how much strength she has.
Well, with Taylor Werner, of course, we saw her early on this year at the Razorback Invitational, just so pleased to be running again without pain. And this is the culmination of a great comeback year for her.
She did. A little over 21 months ago, she had a car accident and literally did not run without pain for the whole time in the Razorback Invitational indoor. Was the first time she had ran in 18 months without pain, and ever since then she has been a completely different athlete. Very mature, runs very smart, and will just stay in this, and now you see that the pack stretches back out again. So that's the unevenness of how they're running these 400-meter laps.
A little more than 7.5 laps remaining in this 10,000 meters. We'll step aside again and come back with the conclusion of this race. Lots of running, maybe fast at the end, left to go. Back in Austin at Mike A. Myers Stadium for more of our coverage of the NCAA Outdoor Track and Field Championships. We've got 5.5 laps remaining in the 10,000 meters. And a little bit of a break here during the commercial break. Weini Kelati of New Mexico has struck out and created a little gap here.
Right now they're running about 33:20 pace, and Kaladi took it out on that last, as soon as they passed the finish line, and Taylor Werner went with her and covered the move. Anna Rohrer from Notre Dame dropped currently to third, starting to labor a little bit. If you look at Anna Rohrer in the Irish green top, her shoulders are really kind of starting to move up, and her hands are starting to cross her body. She's doing a little bit more work than she needs to running efficiency, as you can compare her to Taylor Werner, who is barely moving that upper body from Arkansas in the maroon.
So Weini Kelati throwing in a 74.7 lap, and that created that 10 to 12 meter gap that we see between her and Taylor Werner.
There's 5 laps to go, however, and that's the thing. Right now, Werner, Rohrer need to stay patient, because if Kaladi made that move a little too soon, if she can't hold that pace, she's going to end up coming back to that chase pack.
Okay, well, I'll tell you, somebody we haven't spoken about who looks awfully good right now is Izzy Bat-Doyle, the junior from Australia and Washington. She looks very relaxed.
Very comfortable.
And she needs to maybe get into second place and maybe get so she can get into contact. But she's kind of drafting behind Rohrer and Werner a little bit, but she knows there's still more than a mile left, and that Kaladi might just come back to her, but she's looking awfully relaxed. She's keeping herself compact, unlike Anna Rohrer, as you said, is starting to flail a little bit and look a little bit uncomfortable. Still a lot of running left to go, a mile to go when we get to the bell.
Isabel Doyle now overtaking Anna Rohrer of Notre Dame, and look at how confident she is. There is no movement again in that upper body. She looks like she actually has, her pace has now picked up, which is exactly what you wanted to do in this race. The 400 meter splits were all over the map in the first part of this race. Taylor Werner covering the move from Doyle, and both of these women right now, it's going to be a mental game. Who can draft off of who can pull who through, and who can stay patient in their own race plan and hope that Kaladi either comes back or you have another gear with these final 4 laps to make a move.
And then Taylor Werner covered it and then passed her again, and then she seemed to sort of go, oh, gee, that didn't work so well. Now she's back into second, but now the arms are starting to be not as compact and a little bit more clunky. So the race really starting to take its toll as we come around to the start-finish line. 3 laps remaining, and Kaladi, who's just metronoming it with her feet, has got about a 20 to 25 meter lead now. They need to get back into contact.
This is where that speed will have to start coming into play. You have to have gas in the tank. You cannot run a 10,000 bankrupt into the last 3 laps. Everything that you've done up until this point has to set up these last laps. Kaladi is way out there, and listen, she was second at the NCAA Cross Country Championships. She also was a bridesmaid indoor, second in the 5K, and then she was third in the 3K. So she hasn't had a title under her belt. Bet that that's on her mind.
The other woman we haven't spoken about is Carmela Cardama Baez of Oregon, the junior from Spain, who is now past Izzy Bat-Doyle and now is right next to Taylor Werner, right behind Taylor Werner. But we're starting to run out of real estate if they don't get back into contact, because I'm not certain they're going to really reel in Weini Kelati.
Technical running for the women that are in 3, 4, and 5 right now. I just saw that one of the women passed on the inside. Make sure that you hug that rail and you don't want to give up the inside. It's a cardinal sin in track and field, and let other runners pass you on the inside. Bat-Doyle and Cardama Baez running very comfortably. Taylor Werner, now that's where Taylor doesn't want to get boxed in. You see how she had to just change her pace speed right there? She tried to move up, but she's got nowhere to go. She had to slow down, and now she's going to have to go to the outside if she wants to pass. So stay efficient in these last 2 laps.
Kaladi is making sure that the chase pack is not gaining the ground on her, as we're now under 2 laps remaining. There's a lapped runner in between that is making it look a little bit confusing, but Izzy Bat-Doyle, who is actually in second place with Carmela Cardama Baez, they're easily 30 meters back. So unless Kaladi really starts to falter, I don't know that they're going to have a chance of catching her.
Weini Kelati looking very efficient. Her pace and her gait and the way she's run on her feet hasn't changed at all. She doesn't look like she's laboring. Takes a little bit of a peek around the corner. There's a huge jumbotron that's at the finish line, and a lot of these athletes have taken a peek up just to see who's behind them.
Well, after that 74.7, she's thrown in 76, 77.7, and 77.3, and continued to be able to make a gap appear. Now the bell, and Carmela, Cardama, Baez trying to close that gap, and they have done so to a certain degree. Izzy Bat-Doyle also right there in third. I just don't think there's enough real estate left for them to catch her. Taylor Werner in fourth by herself, and Rohrer now back to sixth.
Carmela Cardama Baez of Oregon actually picking up her pace. She's closed that gap with Kaladi to about 15 meters.
And it's always better to be the hunter than the hunted. You've got that goal in front of you, and Kaladi does not have that jumbotron on the backstretch to look at to see how much that gap has been reduced.
Look at the look on Cardama Baez's face. She is so dialed in on the back of the jersey of Weini Kelati.
She was fourth at both the 5 and 10K at the Pac-12 meet a month ago, but she has the momentum now.
Here she comes.
Does Kaladi have another gear? Cardama Baez has all the momentum. Now Kaladi starts to get serious because she's seizing a jumbotron, but maybe too late. Oh no, Kaladi finds another gear and dashes the hopes of the Spanish junior from Oregon and has to end up second. What a great try to catch her over the last 300 meters.
And finally a national title for Weini Kelati of New Mexico. 33:10.84.
So the sophomore from Eritrea has one gear left with 100 meters remaining.
Carmela Cardama Baez tried to make the move, and Weini Kelati, who has led for the last 4 laps, dug down a little bit deep and said, not today. Look at that, she just finds a little bit of an extra pop and finishes strong, finally getting her first national title.
72.9 last 400 for Kaladi, 68.7 last lap for Carmela Cardama Baez, and she just ran out of real estate at the end. A valiant effort and certainly an upgrade from her 4th place finishes at conference all the way to runner-up at the national championships. So Weini Kelati, the 22-year-old sophomore from Eritrea and New Mexico, notches her first 10,000-meter victory at the NCAA championships, 33:10.84. Carmela Cardama Baez of Oregon gets the 8 points for the Ducks. Izzy Bat-Doyle hangs on for third. Taylor Werner of Arkansas getting fourth. Anna Rohrer back to 6th place. A very, very nice effort. And Notre Dame getting 8th, so 4 points for the Irish in the 10,000. The winner is downstairs with Laura.
Weini, you found an incredible closing kick. How were you able to find that extra gear when you felt that threat coming on your shoulder?
So, I know it's going to be a tactical race. I don't want to go out too fast. And I was just like, let's go drop the pace, but I can save for a little bit at the finishing line. I know it's with the heat, it was very challenging a little bit. And then with the half I have left, and I was like, let's start finishing. It's not my weakness, but let's gonna do it today. And it happened. I'm glad that I make it. As I said, I don't want to go out really fast from the beginning because I have a 5K tomorrow. So it works as I expected. I'm glad.
You have been second a number of different times in this meet. How much did that fuel you to get that first individual title?
Well, it feels great, but I did not expect for that. Always when you come to the championship, everything can happen. So I prepare for anything that there is sprinters that I have finishing, there is runners that have ability to push from the beginning, and I was like, I'm going to prepare mentally and physically and deal with it. So I did it. I'm glad that happened.
Congratulations. We will see you back on the track for the 5K.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Well, the good news is that Weini actually has a day off tomorrow. She has the 5K on Saturday. But a great race, a great effort by Carmela Baez. We're back with the 4x4s after this.